Good evening. It is finally the time of All Hallows Eve, which is good because I'm already sick about hearing people's Christmas plans. It is the time of ghosts and ghouls, the time when the unnatural in all of us comes out to play. My kind of holiday. It is the time when we celebrate the monstrous, which is exactly what we're going to be doing tonight, with my own personal list of the most frightening creatures from the very depths of fiction. What the bloody hell was that? Number 10. Frieza. I love Dragon Ball Z. If I was ever on Mastermind, Dragon Ball Z would be my specialist subject. But that's not the only reason I chose it. There are plenty of terrifying anime with far more creepy and horrifying aesthetics, but that's sort of the point. You see a cover with this guy on the front, you know it's meant to be scary. But Dragon Ball Z? It's colourful, bright, fun, goofy characters. And yet, so much nightmare fuel. And the nightmare fueliest of all of them? Frieza. He was the most powerful, the most cruel, the most ruthless villain the show has ever had. The kingpin of intergalactic evil, the Napoleon of space crime, ordering the deaths of trillions of lives, and all from the comfort of his floating recliner chair. With each transformation coming from Akira Toriyama's own personal fears. This is why Frieza kicks off this list at number 10. Number 9. Freddy Krueger. The ultimate horror villain is at number 9? Well, sure, when you're young, the idea is the most terrifying thing you've ever heard. Someone who can enter your mind, the one place you can't escape. And he's the one in charge. No amount of Red Bull prevents the inevitable. However, as you get older, you realise just how cool Robert Englund is. Embracing the role and everything that comes with it, this makes Freddy, by extension, seem pretty cool too. It's harder to be frightened when you're thinking of how great it would be to get a couple of drinks with our movie monster.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
I think I'd be okay with that. Freddy Krueger. The coolest villain you'll ever be slaughtered by. Number 8. Maleficent. A good movie monster or villain is something we learn to appreciate more and more as we get older. And one company we have come to realise has spoilt us for choice is Disney. They've given us sibling-killing lions to puppy-slaughtering fashionistas, and we laud them for being an equal opportunist when it comes to evil. And here to represent the Disney Corporation is the veritable mistress of evil herself, her words, Maleficent. No. From her name to her wardrobe, she is the embodiment of evil, with no equal to power. She even changes things up by kidnapping Philip. A scene that has very different connotations when you're older. Keeps him in her dungeon and proceeds to emotionally torture him. Plus, she provided the first moment I ever heard an animated character say anything close to a curse word.
Now shall you deal with me, O Prince, and all the powers of hell!
Okay then. Number 7. The Gentleman and the Weeping Angels. Number 7 is a tie. 2 TV shows, both famous for their monsters, one based in science and the other mythology. And though they both do have terrifying reoccurring monsters, they also have one standout episode that taps into very visceral fears with needle-like precision. The gentleman from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, fairy tale beings that steal your voice, visit you at night with those demented grins of theirs, to cut out your hearts while you're still alive and unable to scream. From Doctor Who, there's the Weeping Angels. These gentle images of stone belie their true nature. Appearing still, safe and unthreatening is what makes them so dangerous. Because you mustn't turn away. Don't close your eyes. Don't even blink. Blink and you're dead. I couldn't watch either of these episodes for ages. They were too scary. And when you're competing with Daleks and vampires, that's impressive. Number 6. The Raptors. They're fast, they're strong, they're smart. And we wanted them back in the food chain. Why? Sure, T-Rex was the headliner, but Velociraptors were the breakout stars. Did we even care about Velociraptors before Jurassic Park? No, but afterwards they were our new worst fear. They can open doors! I wasn't afraid of monsters under the bed. I was afraid of raptors sneaking into my room. The worst part is, we created them. We've only got ourselves to blame, seeing them as mindless beasts that we could shepherd. With pack-like mentality and coordination, these modern-day fossils can make the hunter into the hunted. Number 5. The Joker. Clowns are scary. Universal fact. Hiding something under all that face paint and painted on smiles? Nobody should be that happy. And thank goodness DC agrees with me. The Joker. Possibly the most recognisable villain in comic book history. Probably because it's not just some Bond-esque bad guy billionaire who's hell-bent on world domination. The Joker is the personification of chaos and violence. And wearing that face-splitting grin, he wants to drag you down into his madness. There are no rules when dealing with the Joker. Only the guarantee that there will be pain, destruction, death, and puns. Number 4. The Xenomorphs. The Xenomorphs are woven from pure nightmares. Everything about them is the definition of monster. They have acid for blood. They have jaws inside of their jaws. And they are born by latching themselves onto your face and bursting out of your chest. When I was a kid, my brother used to have this xenomorph figure, and he eventually had to actually put it on top of his wardrobe where I couldn't see it because I was just that scared of it. I chose xenomorphs over predators because these creatures are purely monstrous. There is no reasoning. There is no befriending. When one of these things finds you...
Game over, man! It's game over!
Number 3. Davros. I know I've already had the Weeping Angels here, but what top 10 monster list would be complete without the Daleks? And this spot goes to the man who created them. The screeching, melty-faced, no-eyed Davros. The Master has always been seen as a darker interpretation of the Doctor, but Davros is really everything their character is, but cannibalised on itself. Every wonderful aspect is inverted and turned grotesque. The pursuit of knowledge and capacity for invention are all abused, turning Davros into a megalomaniac who the Daleks, the ultimate Doctor Who villain, follow as their leader. Number 2. Jaws. Have you ever seen something that completely changed your opinion on something you actually used to really enjoy? I used to love swimming in the ocean. Not anymore! Jaws taps into a simple, primal fear. Because if you go toe-to-fin with a shark, you will lose. Especially if it's in water. You are up against millions of years of evolution and fine-tuning to become the ultimate predator. A shark is perfection. We are dwarfed by them. They represent the overpowering force of nature that we, with all our advances we've made, could never hope to fight against. It was with the wonderful intervention of fate that we don't see the shark for a majority of the film, and this allows the audience's imagination to run wild, to think of how terrible this thing is. Until...
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Number 1. Dr. Frankenstein. Oh yeah, I bet you didn't see that coming. I should probably explain myself. Putting together this list, I was thinking mainly about what I found scary, but I also tried to think why it was scary. A mad scientist monster can be pretty scary on a simple threatening way, but what about the mad scientists themselves? In the original Universal movie, the film adaptation most people are familiar with, it's pretty simplistic. Obsessive scientist loses hold of his own sanity and morality in order to create his lumbering, unnatural creature. In the book, he's not nearly that sympathetic. The Doctor's first action after creating life isn't a triumphant "it's alive" and declaring himself a god. It's to hide himself away, horrified, now, at his actions, abandoning what is basically his child, terrified and alone with no understanding of his existence or the world around it. It is other humans that first attack and abuse the monster, but it was Dr. Frankenstein that left it to that fate, without any consideration to what might happen, using the justification that it's a monster, so it doesn't matter. But it isn't. In the book, the creature learns how to speak fluently, learns other languages, the basis of civilized society, and it even decides that if it can accept the way it looks and decides that that doesn't make it a monster, then maybe others can do the same. And I think that's a very relatable thing for people. I know it was for me. It's a very human trait to want to be accepted because of what we are, not despite it. They even try to reason with Frankenstein, saying it will stop the terror and live away from humans if he creates a companion for them. Frankenstein does begin to do this, but then destroys it in front of the creature's eyes because he can't bear to bring any more monsters into the world. Ugh. And that's when the creature truly does become a monster. Before this, the monster shows more humanity and beauty than any of the human characters. Its father, on the other hand, is the worst of humanity, expressing our cruelty to people who are different, the arrogance and self-entitlement we can have during scientific pursuits, regardless of the consequences, and the ugliest face of our own hatred. This is why Dr. Frankenstein is the most frightening thing on this list. The others are the things in the night that might harm us. Dr. Frankenstein is the very worst of what we ourselves can be, have been, and will be in the future if we allow it. And that is the most terrifying thing. And that is why he takes the number 1 spot. Because ultimately, the greatest darkness lies within the human soul. Happy Halloween, everyone!